TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donation. Shalom ve'erev tov, good evening. Welcome to our daily TV7 Israel News Bulletin broadcast from Jerusalem. The Israeli Airforce, in collaboration with the ISA, or Shin Bet, eliminated the recently appointed commander of the internationally designated terrorist organization, the Islamist Hamas. The IDF intensifies its strikes against the Iranian proxy Hezbollah. Both its infrastructure and terrorists amid an uptick in the terror group's attacks against Israeli civilian communities and troops. And China urges both the Islamic Republic of Iran and the United States to meet each other halfway as wide gaps in negotiations remain. Less than 10 days after the commander of Hamas's Izz-al-Din al-Qassam brigades was successfully eliminated, the newly appointed successor of the terror group's military wing, Mohammed Odeh, has experienced the same fate. The IDF spokesperson's unit announced, quote, "As part of the joint IDF and ISA operation to eliminate the terrorist Mohammed Odeh, terror infrastructure sites in the heart of Gaza City that Odeh used to hide out were struck. This followed months of intelligence monitoring aimed at tracking the movements of Odeh and his operatives. Simultaneously, a nearby apartment belonging to a Hamas terrorist who infiltrated Israel on October 7th and was a part of Odeh's circle of operatives was struck."
There was a sudden airstrike by Israeli warplanes. It was a surprise. They hit a rooftop apartment in a building with 3 missiles, and they weren't simple missiles, they were heavy ones. There is no calm. Day and night there is shelling. The shelling is constant here. They say there is a ceasefire, but there is no calm for us.
It is important to highlight that prior to these strikes, steps were taken to mitigate harm to civilians, including the use of precise munitions and aerial surveillance. And while Hamas operatives immediately sought to spin the elimination of the arch-terrorists to their advantage by incessantly conveying a message of victimhood, it is imperative to understand that Mohammed Odeh, prior to assuming the role of Hamas's military chief, operated as the head of the terror group's intelligence apparatus, as part of which he was directly responsible for overseeing intelligence collection that related to the October 7th massacre of countless Israeli border-adjacent communities, murdering some 1,200 mostly Israeli civilians, wounding over 4,800 others, and kidnapping over 250 people, to include elderly, Holocaust survivors, women, men, children, and infants. Moreover, he was identified as the most important figure responsible today for Hamas's continued hold of Gaza City and surrounding areas in violation of President Donald Trump's 20-point plan for the Gaza Strip.
We tell the Zionist occupation, no matter how many you assassinate, no matter what you do, this journey will not stop. It will not stop with Abu America. If it was to stop, it would have stopped with Abu Khalid, Mohammed Sinwar, and Abu Suaib. This journey will not stop, and the struggle of the Palestinian people will continue on all levels.
Meanwhile, during a special commendation ceremony for IDF soldiers who've excelled in the line of duty, IDF Chief of General Staff Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir praised the Israeli military's capacity to rise from the painful failures that had resulted in the massacre of October 7th of 2023, to learn the lessons necessary and to engage the enemies of Israel in excellence aimed at defending the state and its peoples.
This war began on the most difficult and painful day that the state of Israel has known. The failure of the 7th of October accompanies us every day and requires us to question ourselves with courage, to examine ourselves, to draw lessons in a deep, penetrating, and uncompromising manner. From the depth of the failure, we are growing stronger, more alert, and more prepared, because the responsibility for the security of the citizens of Israel lies on our shoulders and on us alone. We have embarked on a powerful and multi-front war in all sectors from the south to the north, above and below the ground. Everywhere, IDF commanders and soldiers are operating with determination, initiative, and courage against our enemies. We are protecting the citizens of Israel, restoring security, and fortifying the future of the State of Israel. In the ongoing campaign, with the historic operations, Gideon's Chariots, Rising Lion, and the Roaring Lion, and in our efforts to liberate our hostages, in all places, in arenas near and far, the IDF has proven time and again its strength, operational superiority, and ability to operate in multi-armed cooperation, tighter than ever, to defend the State of Israel.
Turning to Israel's northern front, where the war against the Iranian proxy Hezbollah is gradually intensifying, with the terror group ratcheting up its attacks against Israeli targets to include civilian communities in northern Israel, where multiple one-way attack drones had been launched over the course of the past 24 hours alone. In response, the IDF has launched over 150 strikes against terror targets belonging to the Iranian proxy Hezbollah throughout southern Lebanon, in accordance with the directives given to the military by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Israel Katz.
As per the directive of myself, the Defense Minister, and the IDF Chief of Staff, we are deepening our operation in Lebanon. The IDF is operating with large forces on the ground and seizing dominant terrain. We are fortifying the security zone to protect the communities of the north. Concurrently, we are leading a massive national effort to advance creative and innovative solutions against explosive drones. We back and praise our heroic commanders and soldiers. They are deep in the field. We trust you.
While clashes are clearly intensifying, it is important to point out that clear evidence showcases Hezbollah's methods of utilizing civilian infrastructure to include private and public structures. Consequently, once Israel degrades Hezbollah military infrastructure, the ones paying the ultimate price for the Iranian proxy's methods are civilians, who are obliged to accommodate Hezbollah's unrelenting demands.
Kids, women, and elderly people all sitting here. Suddenly they send early warnings, and these people get thrown into chaos. They pick themselves up and leave. Half an hour, 45 minutes, look at what happened.
Similar to the civilians, those that muster the courage to abandon Hezbollah's menacing positions face repeated threats of deadly consequences. Among others, Hezbollah's Secretary General Naim Qassem proclaimed in a speech to his followers earlier this week that the people have the right to go down onto the streets and to bring down the government, which he had called an American-Israeli project. In response, the U.S. State Department released a statement in which it condemned in the strongest terms Hezbollah's reckless call to overthrow Lebanon's democratically elected government. The statement further asserted, quote, Hezbollah has ignored repeated calls from the legitimate government of Lebanon to cease its attacks and respect a ceasefire. Instead, it has continued firing on Israeli positions and moving fighters and weapons into southern Lebanon. This is a deliberate campaign to destabilize the country and maintain its power at the expense of the future of the Lebanese people. The government of Lebanon, the statement continued, is working to deliver recovery, reconstruction, international assistance, and a stable future for its citizens with the full support of the United States. Hezbollah, by contrast, is actively trying to drag Lebanon back into chaos and destruction. Turning to Iran, where the Ayatollah regime is increasingly frustrated by its failure to convince the Trump administration to succumb to their demands, which essentially include accepting American defeat vis-à-vis Tehran's nuclear ambitions and demands to maintain a grip over the Strait of Hormuz, regardless of international law and reality on the ground. Consequently, the terror regime in Iran is repeatedly claiming that the United States keeps contradicting itself, promoting inconsistent narratives.
It is not the first time we are witnessing these contradictions. In fact, one of the problems in our negotiations is these inconsistencies and contradictions in their behavior. This is not a new issue.
It is worth noting that while Iranian officials make statements in the English language, claiming they are not interested in conflict and they would never pursue nuclear ambitions, the same officials, to include Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian, repeatedly states in Persian for domestic consumption that the United States and Israel have been defeated militarily, which is, according to him at least, the reason for President Trump's decision to pursue a diplomatic track.
They did not imagine that our armed forces, our defensive power, and our offensive system could perform such feats. It was a completely surprising matter for all of them.
Well, the Ayatollah regime has evidently come to believe its own narratives, adopting a maximalist approach in negotiations with the United States. Its patron, China, which works tirelessly to salvage the Islamic Republic from heightened prospects of regime collapse, is urgently calling upon both Washington and Tehran to meet each other halfway.
Regarding the current situation, the key is the negotiation between the United States and Iran, because they are the major parties concerned. We support the active mediation by Pakistan and other countries. Before we came here, I met with Marshal Monir of Pakistan. We also support efforts made by the United States and Iran, respectively. As we have been saying, it takes more than one cold day to freeze 3 feet of ice, and long-standing issues cannot be resolved overnight. However, every step forward in the negotiation brings more hope to peace, and one day earlier the conflict is ended means less civilian casualties. We hope that the parties concerned can stay committed to pursuing a ceasefire and continue to meet each other halfway, so that peace can return to the Middle East as early as possible. And we believe that once an agreement is reached, it will be submitted to the UN Security Council for endorsement, for it to have legitimacy and authority.
Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News, which is made possible by the generosity of our viewers. I would like also to take this opportunity to highlight that TV7 Israel is exclusively donation-based, and therefore if you already support TV7, I would like to voice my gratitude to you, since your support does help us produce all those productions which we air on a regular basis. But if you haven't yet supported, I do encourage you to do so. You can do so via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. Please keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem and redemption of Israel. I'm Jonathan Hassan, wishing you an Erev Mevorach, and God willing, until our next update, Shalom from Jerusalem.